to the Mojo Market Report. Here's your hosts, Dave Sturcio and Chris Gucci.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Mojo Market Report right here on a football Monday. Week 9 is come and gone, except for one more game later on this evening. We'll get into all that. We'll get into the entire slate of games of week number 9. Dave Sturcio alongside Chris Gucci, A5, Anthony behind the glass, producing this bad boy from Chop Studios. We hope you guys had a great weekend. We hope you guys made some money. I know I did. I promised everybody that the Kenneth Walker percentage that I was down was going to turn green, and bang, just like that. It's a miracle, and it turned green, and I'm making a little bit more cheddar this weekend. So lots to get into, obviously. Tua doesn't seem to lose games. That's a fun thing.
Yeah,
like we're going to talk about him in movers, but it's just like, how much can you possibly
we've
talk?
talked about Tua pretty much every other episode since we started doing the Mojo Market Report. Yeah, I mean, he's 6-0 in games that he's finished. So they lost the game that he didn't finish against, I believe it was Denver game?
Bengals.
The Bengals game. And, yeah, I mean, this guy just wins football games, and look at his numbers. He's a top mover seemingly every time he plays. So
we had Tua win another game. The Bucs, look, on this show, I said Tom Brady was absolutely washed. He was no good anymore. He heard me. He sent me a text, and he said, bro, watch this. And I just chalked this up to the Rams being really bad at football right now. Their offense is just piss poor, man. Like they can't get outside of a big play by Cooper Kupp. Like outside of that, they had zero first downs in the fourth quarter. Oof. Zero. Yes. Oof. So the Rams couldn't move the ball at all. And the Bucs get it done. They get Scotty Miller dropped one right off his face, by the way. He could have been a hero then, but then he made up for it and caught 4 balls on that last drive. Sets up the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for their win. So they're Tampa Bay all of a sudden back in it, which is terrible to even think about. The Chiefs, great game last night. Overtime win. We saw Mahomes do his thing. One more again. Like the guy is just a Houdini. They were screwed for a little while.
They were up against it, but you got to put
the Titans definitely schemed great for them.
They did, but what we talked about, I thought the Chiefs would actually light them up earlier, but the defense held them in it, and the running game did work for them. But you got to score a ton of points if you want to compete with the Patrick Mahomes-led Chiefs, and they weren't able to put enough up, and that's what happens. You
saw some serious frustration coming out of Travis Kelce, throwing his helmet all over the place. So things weren't working for a little while. But then Mahomes called his own number. Great connections overall with Juju Smith-Schuster. That seems to be panning out pretty well. He's a big-body receiver. I think that's what they were lacking over there. Even when Tyreek Hill was there, they didn't have somebody besides Kelce to really cause some separation. Packers, I mean, dude, at this point, it's just like, what are we doing? Look, it's rough. Tough sledding, a lot of injuries.
We'll call it like 4 o'clock hour. It was the witching hour for me was probably the worst 20 minutes of football that I've had in over a decade. The Packers and the Jets, or the Packers and the Bills both lost. I had the Bills in the survivor pool.
And you were down to like, what, 10 guys?
I was down to like 10 guys, a massive survivor pool. And I switched my pick from Philly on Thursday to the Bills, and now I am eliminated.
So no vacation for Chris.
It was Josh Allen getting sacked, and his elbow necessarily
bursting into flames. Right.
I don't know what happened right there. Hopefully he's okay.
He said he's sore.
He's definitely sore. That looked bad.
It did look bad.
It looked bad, and the next throw that he made looked worse.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh well, I just got eliminated from 70 grand.
So the Packers are 3-6. A lot to kind of unravel with that game on a completely separate show because there's a lot to dive into. And the Minnesota Vikings are 7-1 quietly. They had a come from behind win over the Commanders. I mean, give it up for the Vikings to be 7-1, but again, much like the Eagles and much like these good teams, even the Giants, they don't look that great. And then they have to make this last-ditch effort to win the game. So congratulations to the Vikings.
Looked great, by the way. I'm not sure.
They looked like they could have been had by the Texans early.
Yeah, a 12-point win.
I mean, at the end of the day,
on the road.
At the end of the day, it looks one way, and this looks the other. But anyway,
you're splitting hairs saying the Eagles don't look
good.
The
Vikings are
though
7-1, and now with the Packers being 3-6 and Chicago doing their thing, they got a 3.5 game lead over anybody who's even remotely close to them. And so now the Vikings are sitting pretty right now. But the one thing that wasn't pretty, look, I give Russell Wilson a lot of crap for his cringeworthy internet viral stuff with the let's ride and this, that, and the third. He's just a weirdo, and he's, high-fiving himself. Kirk Cousins, my boy, my guy. Listen, your boy, Kirk Cousins, don't ever dance like that again, especially shirtless. That was rough.
Can I explain the difference between the two, though? Like, Russ is doing that by himself on the plane.
And
everybody else is like, dude, sit down. We're trying to sleep. True. Kirk Cousins was sitting there in the middle of all his teammates who clearly like the guy. So I think cringe, yes, but he was full on well knowing he was going to be cringe in that moment.
I mean, we saw that. Wasn't he doing the whole
was for the
thing
boys right there. That was for the boys. I'm not a Vikings guy. We all know that, but. Give him a break on that one.
I just don't
team
do it.
Plane stuff.
The
that
ice,
stays on the team plane.
Was first of all, I asked this on Twitter. Was the seatbelt sign on? It couldn't have been.
No,
it's like
there are
40.
You've flown before, right?
Yes, I've flown before, and I know that once that seatbelt belt goes off, you can go and move about the cabin. This was an all-out raid.
I wonder if you ever flew on a chartered team plane. You think these guys are having a good time on that plane on the winds?
The flight back was good. The dance was terrible. But top movers from Sunday, ladies and gentlemen, there is a lot to go over because you dissect this entire Sunday slate, and you start with a guy like Joe Mixon, and Joe Mixon absolutely had himself a day. And the better part about this is, if you're a investor in Joe Mixon and you're a long-term play on Joe Mixon, and you just so happen to have the 15-time multiplier that's available on Joe Mixon, you could probably pay off your mortgage of your house depending on how much you actually invested. This dude had himself a day yesterday. Entered the end zone 5 times yesterday. He's up just 6%. But again, you times that by 15, that's a lot of percent. 5 targets, 4 receptions, 58 yards, and a touchdown through the air. $153 on the ground, 4 touchdowns on the ground. What we said going into this week was that we were a little worried about the Bengals offense without a Jamar Chase. Joe Mixon said, cool story. Let me do this. They beat the brakes off the Panthers.
It shows a little bit of versatility. Tip your hat to Zach Taylor and just riding with the hot hand all game. Joe Mixon, you saw what he did. We could talk about it at length. It's one of the most historical performances we've seen out of a running back over the last 15 years, really, if you look at it. 5 touchdowns.
I think Kamara might have done it on Christmas Eve or something a couple years ago.
We're talking about a 5-touchdown game, bro. For a running back nowadays, it's absurd. You're entering like Priest Holmes, LaDainian Tomlinson territory there. Maybe Marshall Faulk.
Wow, Priest Holmes, not a throwback.
These are the guys. We haven't seen numbers like that in a while. It's a week late. I was going long on Mixon for the last week's game. It didn't work out for me, but this one, I mean, hopefully
you just saw your stock, or you just hang around.
I did.
Okay,
I did, unfortunately. Okay. So I did not get to reap the benefits of the Joe Mixon extravaganza yesterday. But 211 total yards, 5 touchdowns. Jamar Chase is still out. I would imagine they're going to lean on the run going forward a little bit because it worked. The Bengals, they might be here. I mean,
look, the Panthers are.
They
were waving the white flag a couple weeks ago. They just so happened to win some games
we can't overlook the fact that it was the Panthers. But if you've looked at what the Panthers have done well throughout the season, it hasn't been offense, that's for sure. And I wouldn't say their defense has been playing good, but their defense has been what's been the bright spot on that team. So they didn't look good the other day, though, or yesterday.
No, they did not. They did not. We'll get into another Panther in just a little bit. But now shifting gears as far as one of the guys that are on the decline, along with everybody on this team and his organization, is Sam Ehlinger. And look, we're hyped about the fact that he got his chance, right? And Matt Ryan, well, I know you might not have been. I was. But Matt Ryan looked like he was just slow. He was prehistoric. He's a fossil. It's time to move on. It's time to get faster. It's time to get younger. They did that. Then they played the Patriots yesterday, and nothing looked like it was working. Sam had himself a very, very bad game. He just threw 103 yards and threw an interception. He only completed 51% of his passes, so very not good if you're a quarterback in the NFL. He ran 5 times for 39 yards, which, again, he is showing his wheels. We all know that Matt Ryan can't do that, but when you're down, and look, kudos to the Patriots defense, man. They've been good in big moments over the course of this first 9 weeks of football.
Sans the Bears game where they looked like garbage, they have the Patriots defense. That's why they're winning football games for sure. Just to talk about Ehlinger, I did say it was like the biggest increase in the Mojo market in a 1 hour span.
I really hope that people got out after that.
And I just want to highlight the opportunity here because when you see a guy that shoots up 50% or even 100% overnight because he's getting an opportunity and you look how low his stock price is, if you don't believe in that said system, like look at the team that he inherited basically as the starter. They weren't succeeding on offense.
No.
What were the chances that a guy that nobody's ever heard of outside of college football fans was going to come in and all of a sudden light the world on fire? There was the chance, but if you're looking at the sum of all parts, that offensive line's not playing well. Jonathan Taylor's banged up. Their receiver, Michael Pittman, while I do think he's a solid player, I think he's clearly showing that he's not a true number 1 wideout.
Not yet, at least.
Well, I mean, he's in his 4th year. 3rd, 4th year. It's
Is
time.
he really?
Yeah.
Already?
Yeah.
Pittman Jr. wasn't a rookie last year?
He absolutely was not a rookie
Holy,
last year.
time is flying.
Yeah, I know he's at least in his 3rd year. I'm not saying that he can't do it. He's shown that he can. But
maybe he needs a quarterback.
When they don't have a running game going, they don't have a quarterback, they just need a little bit more. Sam Ehlinger, I said short him the day that he came in as the 100% mover. And now I think that there's a chance that Nick Foles gets the job sooner than later. I'm surprised they haven't talked about it a little. I haven't heard Nick Foles' name yet.
You're right. And I saw on the Mojo market that Nick Foles was up a little bit. So now you're starting to find out that, again, we've said this time and time again, week after week. We're saying that, all right, just keep your eyes on these backups, because once the opportunity even remotely looks like it might happen, he starts the uptick.
Yeah.
So Nick Foles, he might be the guy.
There could be a chance that we see a 25-50% increase in a Nick Foles, because he might get named the starter for the rest of the season. And then in which case, Sam Ellinger's stock will then plummet back to where he started at. Because
Right.
now
So if you,
he got his opportunity. He banked zero value in the Mojo market because he only has 300 yards passing, under 50%. So he didn't bank anything. And it's going to go right back to where it started before as a number 3 quarterback now, because he got his opportunity. He failed. So now it's going to be a little bit harder for him to get a second chance as a starter in this league.
Kind of worried.
Short Sam Ellinger.
I'm very, I mean, not that he's not my job. He doesn't pay me, but I'm worried for Frank Reich right now. Like, he just can't get it right. They tried to make the room for Matt Ryan, thinking that was going to kind of spark this offense. It did nothing. Then you go to Sam, did nothing. Now you go to Nick Foles. Now watch. You all see what Nick Foles has done in his past, right? Maybe Nick Foles lights the world on fire. I don't know, but the Colts right now are very hard to watch. Their offense is very slow still, and you'd think that it got younger, it gets faster. It's just not good. And Deion Johnson. What was the backups?
Deion Jackson.
Jackson. All right, had it right the first time. He did nothing. He got hurt, came back, but it's like, I don't know. The Colts team is hard to watch right now, and again, they might be picking in the top 10, top 12 of the draft next year. And do you do it all over again? You know what I mean? Do you try to find your quarterback of the future there?
Yes.
Keep your eyes open on that
Absolutely.
situation. All right, so in a losing effort, we also saw another quarterback go absolutely nuts yesterday, and that's Justin Fields. We talked about Tua before, about how he wins games, and he does, and he's putting up some big numbers. Now, Justin Fields, in that draft class, is turning out to be one of, if not the best one there, I think. I mean, we've talked about it a little bit last week about Justin Fields' as his future, his promise. 17 for 28, 123 yards. Nothing gaudy about that, right? 3 touchdowns, though. Great. But he breaks the record for he broke the record. He broke Mike Vick's record yesterday with 178 yards rushing, the most yards ever by a quarterback in one single game. He broke the record.
Are you sure?
I promise you he broke the record. I saw graphics galore, unless they want to take it a one adjusted run away. Pretty sure I watched and saw that Justin Fields broke a record yesterday, and I heard it on the radio coming in this morning. So that record stood the test of time. I mean, it was Mike Vick. I mean, one of the most electrifying players to ever play the game. But Justin Fields now, yesterday, has a 5-time multiplier if you're into that right now. I'm right?
Yeah.
I
I
knew
saw
it.
a graphic that said he was the second most.
Maybe
So
he passed another guy and
maybe it was
then
mid-game.
passed Vick at the end.
Yeah.
I don't know. But 6% up, $27.62 right now. He's sitting there. He's sitting pretty. Now, I know as a Packer guy, you hate to get up on Kirk Cousins, and you sure as hell hate to get up on a Justin Fields, but take the blinders off, the Packer fanhood aside, is Justin Fields the future of the Chicago Bears? Are they done worrying about that? Like, we saw him do it against Miami yesterday. Miami's defense, not the worst in the league, not the best in the league, but they had Bradley Chubb, and he just was so elusive on getting outside that pocket. Justin Fields looked like a baller yesterday.
Yeah,
man.
I mean, the Bears, they're starting to give Justin Fields more designed runs. I'm not going to sit here and say that I didn't expect him to run well in this game, because the Dolphins, if you look at what they've done stopping the run, they're actually really good. But then if you look deeper, you see that they've given up most of their yards, most of the chunks that they've given up have been to quarterbacks. I think Lamar had a big run, like a 65-yard touchdown in the game that they played in the first half. And then Josh Allen had like 70 or 80 yards rushing in his game. So they do struggle against the scrambling quarterback. Justin Fields, he only has 200 yards or more in one game passing. So did we expect Justin Fields to be able to run the football coming into the league? 100%.
Yeah.
That
was already kind of
Am I going to
assumed
sit
that
here
that
and
was
anoint
gonna
him as the best quarterback in his class? I don't know, because I've seen spurts out of almost every one of these guys. And I say everyone, I'm saying Zach Wilson, I've seen him play well at times. I'm not sold on Zach Wilson. I've seen Trevor Lawrence play well at times. Not sold on Trevor Lawrence. I've seen Justin Fields play well a little bit less than I've seen those other two guys play well in terms of being a field general and running the offense the way I think that a GM or a coach would like their quarterback to run the offense. All that said, you can't discount the fact that over the last 3 games, we'll just go like this. The first 5 games of the season, he only had 50 yards or more rushing the ball once. In his last 4, 88, 82, 60, 178. So we see that the Bears offensive coordinator,
it.
they're starting to figure
get
out,
it.
like, this is the best way to make this offense work. I just don't know how that plays out over a career because Justin Fields is going to have to learn how to throw the ball. He's going to have to start getting these 3rd and longs. He's going to have to start hitting these passes. You see a lot of splash plays out of him, but you don't see the 3rd and 6 conversions, and that's what we're missing from the Bears offense.
Saw Claypool get involved yesterday as well. His newest weapon, newest toy.
So to answer, are
Mooney.
they done worrying? I don't know. I think that the verdict is yet to still be determined on Justin Fields. But because of the investment that they've made in him, they have no choice but to at least let it play out. So for now, they're not going to invest in a quarterback. There's no question about it. They have Justin Fields. He's their guy. I think the fan base believes in it. So we're going to get to see Justin Fields for another season or two, no matter which way it slices. And I don't believe in him long term. I really don't. I'm not saying that because I'm a Packers fan. I just look at the passing stats and I want to see more. You look at Lamar in year 2, he won his MVP. He's not Lamar Jackson.
No.
Let's just and people want to bash Lamar about him not being a good thrower of the football. And I'm not saying you.
Yeah, you are.
I'm saying in general, that's been even the Tampa Bay game, they went into that saying he was a running back.
Right.
They made the graphic. But let's be real, he's a little bit better than that, right? We're going to give him credit a little bit in the passing game. At least I am. I'm not seeing that out of Justin Fields just yet. So I'm a little bearish on Justin Fields.
All right. Justin Fields, like I said, loses the game. Long term.
But you have to say the Bears offense has put up like 95 points over the last 3 games. And 2 of those games, really 3 of those games, 2 of those games were against really good defenses.
Yeah, Cowboys being one of them. I know that firsthand watching it. I've tried to
Patriots,
try to
Cowboys.
ral him in, huh?
The Patriots, the
Yeah,
Cowboys.
yeah.
So.
All right, another guy we wanted to talk about just because of the percentage movement, and there's a couple storylines surrounding this, is Terrence Marshall, right? Terrence Marshall didn't have like this crazy big old day, right? But the movement yesterday, he's up 21%. Now, why is that, right? You're looking at it, three catches, 53 yards and a touchdown. Well, that's why, right? He has a great game statistically in a game where the Panthers were completely run over. The bigger thing is the upside going forward for Terrence Marshall. Now, look, DJ Moore was linked to being traded a whole bunch of times before the deadline, right? And then they make the move. Well, Baker goes down. PJ Walker goes in. PJ Walker is elusive and is playing loose, right? Then we saw the reemergence of Boohoo Baker yesterday. Baker Mayfield gets back on the field. I think it was him that connected with Terrence Marshall Jr. So Baker's back-ish. I don't know. I know we're all out on Baker, but the question is this. Where's your future just based on the eye test? Is Terrence Marshall going to be a star in this league?
A star, no. But he has a shot to be a productive player.
Okay.
I don't know that he's the number 2 receiver on arguably the worst team in football, right? We would say that the Carolina Panthers are up there. They're in the contention.
I mean, like I said, they won a couple games by accident at this point.
So, yeah, the Carolina Panthers, arguably one of the worst teams in football. He's the number 2 receiver there. But I think what we've seen over the last 3 weeks is that he is, in fact, the number 2 receiver there. So a starting job in the NFL, considering where his stock price was, there's room for growth. And as he puts himself in a starting lineup in this league, there's a chance to accumulate some bank value. So as long as he has his opportunity for the next 8 weeks, I don't think you're going to get these monster games out of him. But I will say this, I had to spot start him yesterday, and I took what I got, and I was happy with it.
Okay.
So that's what you're going to see out of him. This offense is not good. The receivers aren't going to be heavily involved. They're going to be down in a ton of games, so that might play well in terms of game scripts. But he's not going to be playing meaningful football games. They're not going to be a playoff team. And chances are they're going to be looking to upgrade at that position next year. But I don't know that doesn't put him in a slot role on the same offense.
True.
So I think Terrence Marshall, he's here. He's going to get some looks over the rest of this season at his chance to prove himself. And I think that he is proven that he belongs in the league. So
Yeah.
I just wouldn't
agree.
expect Pro Bowl numbers out of him.
No, probably not. But again, if you invested before this, or if you want to get on them now, chances are the Carolina Panthers will be trailing a lot throughout the course of this next 8 weeks of football.
I would put him in like the top 50 receivers.
And that's not a bad place to be in.
That's not a bad place. Maybe
Right.
that might even be a stretch. Top 50 might be a stretch.
Well, think about it. 32 teams with 2 guys apiece. That's 60 receivers.
I think that's a stretch, actually. I'd maybe put him in the top 60. Because I'm putting like
So
Claypool.
don't invest in
I'm putting
Terrence
Chase
Marshall.
Claypool at like 40, 38.
All right. Well,
So I got
he's now wide receiver 1 over there in Chicago. So you would think.
Mooney is. Mooney.
He did score. One more wide receiver to talk about on the local front. We're not going to totally forget about the fact that there's one of the biggest upsets maybe in recent history, and that's the Jets beating the Bills, and we're talking about Garrett Wilson. This dude right here could be the guy that Zach Wilson hoped to and prayed that he would be, because Zach Wilson needs help. and he needs help around, and especially on the perimeter. And yesterday, 8 catches, 92 yards. Now, the biggest thing that jumps out at me for Garrett Wilson is the fact that he almost caught 50% of Zach Wilson's balls. You know what I mean? Zach Wilson had himself his day, right? But 50% of his completions were to Garrett Wilson. Every time I watched that game, as it came up on the red zone and I'm watching this, and I'm like, every time it went to the Jets offense, Garrett Wilson had another catch, right? So I'm excited about the future of this guy. He's up yesterday 2%, right? But now the biggest thing is Elijah Moore, goosey on the targets again. So it's just like you're looking at this young receiving core. Elijah Moore wanted out 2 weeks ago, and now, I mean, geez, I can't imagine him wanting to stay here any longer. I mean, he's got no option now for this year. But what I will say is Garrett Wilson has become one of the premier rookies to stand out of this class. I know we talked a lot, and we'll talk about Olave later.
He's the top moving rookie so far
Yeah.
at the wide receiver position for the season, and he was drafted with high expectations, and he's living up to them up to this point.
Sure is.
There was a little bit of worry in the middle of the year so far. Up to this point, I say middle of the season, I'm saying weeks 4 through 7, he only had 19 targets combined through those 4 games. I was saying, like, oh, man, like you saw that big performance from him.
What weeks were those?
Weeks 4 through 7. So 4, 5, 6, and 7. 4 weeks, he only had 19 targets.
No, I'm just wondering because, like, I know Flacco was throwing the ball 60 times in the first 3 weeks of
couple
football.
weeks they lit it up. He had a 2-touchdown performance against Cleveland, but since then he hasn't had a touchdown. So it is a little worrisome that he's not finding the end zone, but the usage has gone back up. He has 17 targets in his last 2, and like you said, 50% of the completions go to him. That's not going to stop. He's a talented player. I worry that the Jets offense isn't going to really be as good. They played the game of their lives. But Garrett Wilson here to stay for the future. I'm not saying this season. I think the Jets will still fall apart. I'm sorry, Jets fans. That's just how I feel about it.
I mean, it's hard to think that anymore.
I know, but
you beat the Bills, man. The Bills were touted as the top dog. Even with the Eagles at 8-0, people were still saying that the Bills are the better team.
I worry about the Jets offense going forward this season. That's it. I'm going to stick to my guns on that one. I'm not going to let one game where I think they played excellent. Don't get me wrong, but
yeah.
It just seems like they're just scratching. They're scratching and clawing, and eventually the wheels are going to come off. I just think that's how it looks.
Listen, we made our picks on our daily show, right? And I'm thinking to myself, the spread makes sense because who the heck is going to score? This offense looks bad. All of a sudden, 20 is enough to take down the Bills. That's incredible. Just a testament to their defense.
The Jets defense is legit. My favorite play in that game was the under.
Yeah, well, my favorite play in that game was watching Sauce Gardner do his thing. That's incredible. Sauce Gardner, defensive, he could be potentially defensive rookie of the year.
I don't want to bash Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson looks good.
That guy's a stud. He's an elite route runner, and he'll find the end zone sooner or later. And let's not talk about his rookie year. This guy's going to have a monster career.
Yeah, get involved on Garrett Wilson right now. All right. We got one more game to play, and it's the Monday Night Football game. Tonight, we got ourselves a pretty good one. I mean, I would say, like, as far as the Mojo market is concerned, it's now the Ravens taking on the Saints. They're going to the Dome, right? Another battle in the Bay, and I'm looking at this game, and there's so many interchangeable parts as to who I would look at. But one guy right off the rip, I mean, the Ravens are depleted. They got nobody going tonight. Like, we got, obviously, their running back. I think Gus Edwards has been doubtful. Mark Andrews, doubtful, not going to play.
He's not playing.
He's basically ruled out. Doubtful, by the way, is ruled out in this day and age. And then, obviously, the receivers on the end. Bateman's out for the year now. Our guy that we've talked a lot about was Duvernay throughout the course of the season, right? Like, diversify your portfolio with Devin Duvernay.
It's funny how, like, we were talking about the two of these guys. It's Duvernay and Likely. I've been singing their praises since the start of the season, and now they're the two last men standing in the Ravens offense. And I think that when we're talking about Isaiah Likely, because of the depleted receiving core and the style that the Ravens are probably going to incorporate now that they don't have anybody else, you would imagine Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews, when both healthy, are going to be on the field a ton. Because Likely is essentially a bigger receiver. Mm-hmm. He's more of a receiver than a tight end. At least he's not there to block. We know that. So he's there to catch balls anyway. They're going to line up double tight end set. That's
a dangerous
stylistically,
play.
I think Harbaugh is the coach to do it. They have the quarterback to do it. And they're going to do this run pass option, load them up in the box, and then see if you could stop it.
When you have two tight ends like that and a decent running game, and when I say running game, it's going to be like the Justice Hill show tonight, maybe a little Kenyon Drake, because, again, Dobbins on the IR, Gus Bus, he's on his way, trending the wrong way. So the Ravens are going to struggle, I think, tonight. When you flip to the other side of the coin, the New Orleans Saints, we've been talking about Chris Olave for a long time. And now that Michael Thomas has been ruled out for the rest of the year, I feel like Olave is going to eat at home tonight. And it's been a play for us for weeks now, is to get involved in Chris Olave. If you haven't yet, now's the time. There's no better time than now.
The Ravens secondary has been up and down, but mostly down this year.
Right.
They've gotten guys back healthy, but they were playing so bad that any positive any move in the right direction is a good sign, but it just still hasn't been enough. I do like Olave in this game. I'm not so sure about Kamara. The Bears just traded Roquan Smith over to Baltimore, and I would imagine that he's going to play right away. I don't know that you have to learn much of the defense if you're just going to be in there.
Go get the guy with the ball.
Go get the ball. Yeah, exactly. Go get the guy with the ball. But probably be a little bit limited. Still, that's one of the better players in the league. The Ravens defense just got an upgrade. Poor Lamar, though. He's like, can I get some love on my side of the ball? It's very Aaron Rodgers-like, I'll say that. If I say so myself.
Yeah. Listen, it'll be an interesting game. The Ravens, like I said, traveling on the road to the Dome. We'll see. Is Winston back yet? Like, what's happening here? Like, is that? It's like one of those quarterback situations. I was like, yeah, he's fine. He's got no injury designation. But then Andy Dalton starts again. It's like, what's happening over here? Look out for Taysom Hill.
Andy Dalton's probably playing better than Winston, so that's why.
Maybe it's just a judgmental call, and it's fine. Both teams searching for a win. I know for a fact that the Ravens, they need this one more than the Saints, because the Saints already see the wheels kind of falling off the season already. But the Ravens have to stay afloat now that the Bengals are playing better offense, and now that you have to deal with, not so much Kenny Pickett.
You could lose like the next 4 and still be alive.
The Browns are about to get Deshaun Watson back.
The AFC's a little harder to get in the playoffs, I think, this year.
It's interesting. So enjoy the football tonight. Now, what you could do for us as a favor to us and everybody involved in Mojo, go follow everything there is to follow. Right now, we have @Mojo on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And of course, join the conversation over on discord.com/Mojo. // doesn't matter. What I will say is Discord is an app. So if you're going to go on Discord and start talking via computer, that's the website to find them. But if you just go on the app, you get the invite, you look for it, you click on the website link. Mojo.com is the way you can find all these things. Also, all the bloggers over there doing a phenomenal job with all the insight. Follow us over there. Watch us every day, Monday through Friday. We drop around 9:30 latest over there on the Mojo YouTube channel. Obviously, a whole bunch of shows dropped this week. You got the opening bell later on today. You also have Risers and Fallers with our guy Dalton and Luke. So it's a plethora of information to get yourself involved in, to learn the market. And that'll do it. So for Dave Sturchio, Chris Gucci from Chop Studios, this has been another episode of the Mojo Market Report. Enjoy the Monday Night Football, and we'll see you guys tomorrow as we get into week number 10. It's Cowboys-Packers week. Ooh, baby.
Get off the schneid with a nice one.